So we already define basically unlawful assembly in statute. This would basically define what a riot is. And then through the amendment, persons must be identifiable and there must be specific property. Additionally, blocking or obstructing must be by force, threat, or force. Basically, again, we're just defining what a riot is. It's an act of violence by someone who's part of an unlawful assembly that substantially obstructs law enforcement or other governmental functions. A threat to commit an act of violence by someone who's part of an unlawful assembly that has the ability to immediately execute the threat if the performance of the threatened act of violence would constitute a clear and present danger or would result in damage to property. An act of violence by someone who's part of an unlawful assembly that constitutes a clear and present danger of or would result in damage to property or any other person or injury to another person if the person is identifiable. The amendment adds intentionally. That was asked for by members from the other side of the aisle, Mr. Speaker. We put that in there. We did that. Intentionally participates in blocking or obstructing private or public thoroughfares is a Class A misdemeanor. Intentionally inciting a riot is a Class B misdemeanor. Intentionally participates in a riot is a Class B misdemeanor. Participating with substantial damage to property or bodily injury is a Class I felony. We haven't changed any of the penalties with employees or students of a higher education institution. Most states define what a riot is. And we took basically what a riot is out of the federal rules. It defines what a riot is. I mean, I learned in law enforcement many years ago what a riot was. It was defined. Just a couple things. Why are we doing this? Why do we need this? Well, let's talk about it. Kenosha, $30 million in damage. Death. Buildings that were destroyed, burned down. If you weren't here for the testimony, we had a number of people that came up from Kenosha, business owners, a gentleman who had a furniture store who lost it all. And this was a furniture store handed down by his father. He didn't do anything wrong. He was just there in the community, burned down, no longer here. Looting. I mean, typically, State Street, that's all we saw. Break the windows, go in, start stealing stuff, take it out, and then burn it down, or throw in illumination devices to cause fires. Between May 26th and June 8th, 2020, 20 states, including Wisconsin, ended up with riots with a cost of between $1 to $2 billion. As we're talking about a number of the bills today, and we're talking about prisons and how much money and everything else, it doesn't even equate to $1 to $2 billion. This is people destroying things that we built. Somebody built that. There was somebody who thought enough of that community to put a business there because they wanted to do something for those in the community. And yet, we had individuals there that weren't happy with something, so they decided that they needed to hurt somebody. And what did it do? It cost $1 to $2 billion. And yet a lot of those people probably, I don't know, maybe they didn't have insurance. Some, I believe, don't. And some, basically, their businesses aren't back. You know, the bottom line is, we don't define riot, but the bill does. And if individuals would protest like we're allowed, peacefully, we wouldn't need this bill. But we have people that go beyond the peaceful and they cause a destruction. That's why we need the bill.